Good evening. I'm Gretchen Sable, and I'm president of League of Women Voters ABC. We serve all of Anoka County, plus the cities of Dayton and Champlin in Hennepin County. ABC is a non-political, non-partisan organization, but we do promote causes, we study causes, and we work on causes. And we also do observation of local governments. So some of those things we would love help on. We also do voter forums. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. And we have monthly programs. Our monthly programs are Monday evenings for the most part, and frequently in Andover, but we're starting to have more programming down here in the southern part of the county as well. So I'm going to first let Deanne Christensen, our voter service, or no, you're not voter service, our program chair, talk about our upcoming programs. Go.
Okay, we have a very exciting program in September. It's on redistricting, and we are fortunate to have some real experts on redistricting speaking to us. They're going to do a tag team. It's going to be Kathy Tinglestead, who's a member of the league, and she even sat in on some of the Anoka County redistricting meetings. And also we're having Paul Huffman from the Minnesota State League is going to speak. And the two of them have already gotten together and come up with what they're going to say. Also in October.
What's the date in September?
September 13th. And it's supposed to be a personal meeting, right?
Yeah, in person in Andover.
That could be, who knows? And the October meeting, by the way, is October 19th, and it will be in Fridley. I am not certain where it will be, but I will tell you later when I find out. It will be about Fridley doing a renovation, I'll say, of the city, from being generally citizens, older citizens like us. They're trying to inspire and do different things to welcome the younger establishment. Alyssa Kaler?
Corzo.
Yeah, what
Corzo.
she said.
Yeah.
Is the city manager's helper, I guess, or on that. She's a big deal. So the two meetings are September 13th at the usual meeting place in Andover at the Senior Citizen Place, and to be announced later exactly when the October 19th meeting will be. Any questions?
The 19th is a Tuesday?
It is.
Okay.
And that's because we have some other things coming up in October, so we'll cover that here in a second. We do have a website, so if you go to our website, lwvabcmn.org, you can find our calendar and get all the dates for everything. And we have a newsletter. Okay, so make sure you sign up and we'll get you the newsletter. And then the newsletter has all that information too. So, so that's that. Thank you, Deanne.
Okay, but
so,
who's going to get me down
Need a
here?
hand?
But now Linda Rogers is going to come up. Linda is our voter service chair. And Linda is going to talk about the other things we have in October that are the reasons that, you want to be over here? There you go. Which is why we're not having our usual October meeting.
Okay, I think I heard a short joke out there from the audience. Not sure if that's appropriate or not. This voting season, we're looking forward to 3 school board races in 3 school districts: Anoka Hennepin, Fridley, and Spring Lake Park. And we have scheduled one already. That will be in Anoka Hennepin on the 14th of October. The other 2 have yet to be scheduled. If you look at the attendance sheet that's being passed around, it's on the table right there. The back of that attendance sheet actually has all the candidates who have filed so far in the 3 different school districts. So I thought you might just be interested to see that. And currently, Fridley does not have a contested election. They have 3 candidates for 3 positions, I believe. So we're going to kind of be following following that, August 10th, oh gosh, that's tomorrow,
Yeah.
is the cutoff date for filing. So we'll know for certain then. I'm looking for moderators, so we just would need 3 moderators for those 3 races. Probably we could think about whether or not the moderators would be from outside of a particular district. But I'm not sure how much that will come into play. We'll have to talk about that. Okay, so let's zoom out to a larger context from the State of Minnesota League of Women Voters. Today we had a voter services Zoom call with Paul Huffman, who is one of our liaisons with the state. And he gave us these updates on what decisions have been made from the state league. They decided that they haven't the capacity to develop updated training materials and get together a training for moderators this year. So what they're encouraging people to do is if your own league doesn't have moderators, that you can you can borrow some from another friendly league in the neighborhood. So we can go ahead and follow up on that. I do believe we will have enough internally, but it's always good to share and have that experience across the way. So any league that needs help in securing trained moderators for 2021 forums should let the state know. They will be updating materials in preparation for early 2022 and doing moderator trainings at that time. And they're looking for experienced moderators who are willing to train others and be part of that training process.
So for those of you that don't know, when we do a candidate forum, they're always moderated by a non-involved person, so somebody that wouldn't be able to vote in that election. And so that's why you have to make sure that you have moderators that aren't from that area, and you have to be trained, and the moderators are always very objective and very clear that they treat each candidate equally. So,
Right.
and Linda is our person in charge of all that. So thank you very much, Linda.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so now we're going to get on with the presentation here, and I want to thank North Suburban Center for the Arts for having us here. And we're going to have Abby Kosberg is our speaker tonight. She's the executive director. She's a big whiz in art history and curatorial work. I didn't know that was a word. She's passionate about education, exhibitions, and public art programs. And so as we walked around here today, we got to see some of the paintings. This is a member exhibition. It's very lovely. She's worked in a number of museums, nonprofits, and commercial galleries in Georgia, Wisconsin, and Great Britain. Most recently serving as the gallery and education director at the Oconee Cultural Arts Foundation in Watkinsville, Georgia. She's got a bachelor's in art history, studio art in German from Lawrence University, and a master's in art history from the University of Georgia. So, guten Abend, Abby.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you all for having me tonight. I'm excited to have you here and in our space. Also, I'll say a couple of things. I do tend to speak fast when I get nervous, so if I'm speaking too fast, raise your hand, I'll slow down. I will not take any offense to that. So I think tonight I wanted to talk a bit about what's been going on for us at the North Suburban Center for the Arts. As a lot of you know, we recently have changed our name and pivoted a lot of our stuff, including our funding model, our location, and who we're serving essentially, just in the past 6 weeks. And so some background for that, right before Memorial Day, I was informed that the purchase service agreement, so each year for the past 33 years, we have been essentially given in an in-kind donation the use of this building and also a stipend for my salary in order to continue doing our programming, provide arts programming for Anoka County. And in May, very end of May, I was informed that that lease and purchase service agreement was up for discussion at the County Commissioners meeting, Parks Board meeting on June 1st. And I had like 3 or 4 days to kind of scramble and figure out what was going to go on. The 3 different options that were presented, and these aren't obviously the be all end all, and I don't think it was meant to be purposely hurtful towards us, but it was either leave at the end of June, leave at the end of this year, or leave at the end of August were kind of our options. and there was not really anything on the table for staying or figuring things out. If I had to distill the conversation entirely, I think it boiled down to a belief from the commissioners that tax dollars shouldn't necessarily go towards art funding, especially in an organization like ours that doesn't exclusively serve Anoka County residents. And we can't, that's okay. It was very frustrating for us to find that out and to move forward, especially with such short notice in our long operating history here. But I would say that it's been a very good thing for us overall, and we've pivoted and moved up in a way that I did not quite think was possible for our organization over this past 6 weeks. And so you'll have seen maybe in the news that we had a fundraiser on June 26th where we announced that we changed our name. The Banfill-Locke Center of the Arts has been around since actually 1979, and for the first about 10 years we existed, 11 years we existed, we were the North Suburban Center for the Arts. And so when we moved into this building in '88, we changed our name to the Banfill-Locke Center for the Arts. And now that we're leaving this building, we decided it was a good full circle to go back to our original name, and now we're back to the North Suburban Center for the Arts. We do not have a location confirmed yet. We have a couple great leads. I will say that we're really passionate about staying in a 5-mile radius of right here. We feel passionate that our community that we serve is the southern half of Anoka County and all of the kind of east-west line we serve right here above the Twin Cities. And there's a big gap in arts access in those areas. You get to Northeast, then it's a dead zone, then you get to maybe the White Bear Center for the Arts or Rum River Art Center, but there's about a 30-minute drive in between there where there's nothing going on, and we are passionate about serving that area. We've had a great response for that. And since we kind of went public with what was going on with our organization, we've had a fantastic response from the community, including we went from, I think, 40 members to 256 members in 4 days, which was fantastic. We launched a capital campaign where we've raised about $50,000. For our most likely scenario of where we'll be moving, it's going to cost us $100,000 to get into that space, renovate it to become a gallery and class space and exhibition space and gift shop space. And so we have a capital campaign for by the end of the year to raise $100,000. So when we get to that space, we can hit the ground running and turn out new programs as quick as possible. And we've been working with different construction firms and architecture firms to figure that out, to make sure this is a reasonable number to know no matter where we go, that's about the number we need to hit to get our programs running. And we're also rethinking a lot of our funding models for how we're going to be handling things. Since I started, I'm really passionate about accessibility and making sure that we're alleviating barriers to get into the art gallery and provide arts access. And that means things like cutting program costs that we could, so there's like a no questions asked scholarship for every single thing we do. If not, everything is always free. Or making sure we're having classes that don't happen just during working hours, so it's people who have jobs can come to classes, or offering a variety of different times, or making sure that we're advertising not just to our members in our newsletter, but to the greater area, or showing up at different events and going into the community and having events for that. But unfortunately, we had just settled on a new funding model that kind of allowed us to break even and everything would be free. And then actually the 3 days after that was when I found out that we're losing our funding in our building, which is, it's just kind of how it works sometimes. That's totally okay. And so now we're trying to find a good middle ground for that, and how we can write grants and how we can move forward and make sure we're not pulling too much from our donor base, making sure we're not cutting anybody out. So we always have those all no questions asked scholarships for everything. And we've actually had a really fantastic response from our community as well with this. So for example, on our summer camps that we just had one today, which this messy room was where we had 15 kids earlier today playing and doing art. But of those 15 kids, 7 of them are on scholarship, and 6 of them, they're all full ride. And 6 of those were fully donated by someone who said, okay, I'm buying my grandson one, I'm going to buy his friend one too. And so our community has really stepped up. Even though we can't quite make things free anymore, we're able to kind of bridge that gap, because people are so passionate about what we're doing and who we're serving and how we can serve those people. And so moving forward, we're looking towards making sure we can keep that model going and that we can find ways to make things accessible, but also make sure that we're not just providing programs for a community that doesn't know who we are and doesn't want those programs. So that means we're going to be launching a program next year. It's called Artinerant, so itinerant art practices, where we go into the community and we'll have like pop-up exhibitions or workshops or readings or classes and things that'll happen all throughout the greater North metro area. So for example, you might see us at Bob's Produce with a pop-up exhibition and a take-home art kit, or you might see us at a park with a workshop in the park, or you might see us in the mall doing something outside of a store, working with a local bookshop, or things like that. And the idea behind that is making sure that The gallery and the art institution, which is historically a space that is very exclusionary towards minority groups and to a lot of people in our community, there's a threshold barrier where you don't quite want to come through the door and come into our space. And so this opportunity where we're not going to have a space for sure come December 31st is a great time for us to move out into the community and do those things. And so we're going to be fully launching that program and making sure that we don't disrupt any of our programming regardless of if we have a space that's free and ready to go January 1st, 2022. We'll have something happening in the community and won't have that lack in that program services. And we've also just grown a lot as an organization through this. One weird irony or cruel irony from this is that I had just hired an office administrator who was set to start the day of the county commissioners meeting where they pulled our funding, which was exhausting and horrifying, but we made it work and she stepped up to the plate, and Hani has been one of the most fantastic employees I could have imagined for us. And just having that time freed up and being able to move, we're able to grow exponentially having 2 people here full time versus having 1 person here who's exhausted full time, which is a whole different thing. But moving forward, we're really looking for community feedback and gaining memberships and getting people in our space. I think the best thing we can do is use every inch of the space between now and December 31st. We have a whole host of programs that are happening, including we've extended our hours. So every Thursday we're going to be open until 8 p.m. for people to come after work and do things. We'll schedule programs in that. We've had all of our regular scheduled programming, including we'll have our Art at Rice Creek, which is now called Bark at Rice Creek for this year. So it's going to be pet themed. And so we'll have like pet portrait like booths and food booths and dogs and all kinds of things. Anything pet related will show up there. We'll have our holiday market. We call it a holiday gift mart with a capital ART and mart. And so we'll have that where we usually have about 50 local vendors selling things. We're going to have a couple of really lovely farewell Banfill events. Because even though this is a weird situation, and I think a lot of people have very hurt feelings, including myself at one point, about leaving this space, I think it's really important that we honor this space. We've been here for 33 years. People love this. We're a community staple, and we want to make sure that we're giving a good send-off and farewell and not fighting anyone to do so. Just we're moving forward. And I think it's going to be a good transition for all of us in the end. Did you have a question?
I did. I wondered what you were going to do about the Banfill-Locke ghost.
About the what?
About the Banfill-Locke ghost.
Oh, the ghost.
Because maybe he will feel abandoned by the fact
I have to send it to the county board.
Yeah, maybe he yeah.
I don't think I heard you include the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just missed it.
Well, we do a lot of programming with the schools that's kind of been on hiatus because of COVID for the past 2 years now.
Sure.
Traditionally, we have an arts exhibition where we invite pretty much every kid from the county to give us one piece of art to go in the show. As we're looking at new spaces, the most likely scenarios will be in a smaller space, which means we'll have to be more creative with how we do a show like that. So for example, it might mean instead of letting them create anything of any size they want, we give them a size they have to do and put it on the wall. Things like that. We're picking one grade that we're going to highlight. Things like that. We do a lot of kids programming with camps, and we also recently got a grant from the Fridley Lions Club to give out free family art kits. And so we hire family art kits. And so we hire an artist, they record a little tutorial, they give us a supply list, and we purchase the supplies and give them out for free to anybody who wants them. And we've given out over 300 kits this year. So it's been a fantastic need. The people come from all across Minnesota. We've even shipped a couple of them out, people who can't make it here and just have heard about us from our website. And so small programs like that is where we're really trying to figure out what the community need is versus just programming on what we think the community need is. And as I'm sure you guys will hear when you talk with the city of Fridley about the census, that Fridley has changed wildly in the past 10 years. And you don't, unless you're really paying attention, and now we have this new data from the census, you don't quite know that. So like the average age has gone down, I think, by almost 10 years. Things like that. And so it's like the demographics have changed, everything has changed entirely. And we've been operating on this program circle that's been happening since the 80s and haven't necessarily changed it that much. And so now we're trying really hard to make sure we're changing that to match what's changed around us at the same time. And this changing buildings is the perfect opportunity to kind of start fresh and make sure we're doing that as we move forward. Yeah.
So what's going to happen to this building? I just took a walk around here, beautiful trails. What's going to happen to the building and the trails around here?
The county has not made an official statement about what exactly will happen. I know the park will stay open. I know there's talk about maybe trying to, the fact of the matter is this building needs about $2.5 million in renovations. It's the oldest building, style building in Minnesota. It's over 200 years old. The foundation's crumbling. If you level the foundation, you have to change all the drywall and all the windows and everything with that. It's going to take a lot to get that to happen. And the county has been trying unsuccessfully to apply for grants for about 10 years now to do that and has not been able to secure any of those. I know that their goal is to acquire that funding, do the renovations, and try to find a new space. And I know some options on the table are like a visitor center or a rental facility, something similar to Rydell House would be possible. But none of that's confirmed, and it all rests on getting the renovations for here. I do know that a building this old needs constant use to not fall apart, so the deterioration will happen so much faster when there's nobody in here. We even saw that over COVID when we were not here for 6 weeks at a time. The building just like ate itself alive. It seemed like it fell apart really quickly, and so we don't know what that'll mean moving forward and how quick that'll deteriorate and if that will change their plans. But the park will stay open. They just renovated the bathroom outside. I guess we'll have to just wait and see what happens here. It's unfortunate that we won't be here, but yeah.
The building status, it's technically a historic
It is.
designation, so it's not like they can just
Tear it down.
tear it down. Or
Yep.
Okay.
Not immediately, at least. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's still a writing group connected.
Yeah, we do. The past 2 years, the writing group has been led by our writer in residence. And so we do things like exhibitions, classes, we do workshops, we have residencies, at least one writer and one artist in residence every year. We have all kinds of programs that happen at the center. And we also have open studios, including like an open painting group where if you're a member, you can just show up and paint with friends. Or we have the one you're mentioning as a writing group where you can show up and get taught by a writer how to like workshop things like that. Those are all free opportunities that we usually have. COVID has put them on hiatus. Some of them are meeting via Zoom. Some of them don't want to meet via Zoom. It's really hard to figure out what people want. We've given the option, open the channel for them to do so. Most of them don't right now. But hopefully we'll be able to open that back up in person very soon. Yeah.
Abby, as an old board member for many years, I really appreciate the positive way you have taken this bad news and turned
Thank
it
you.
into something that sounds wonderful. And but as a Anoka County taxpayer, I'm also very saddened to hear that our county board doesn't see any value in the arts for all of us taxpayers. I have a very different opinion about the importance of art.
I have a strong opinion about that as well, and I will tell you my gut reaction was not to be happy and positive about all of this. It has taken months of workshopping that, to be totally honest, to get to where I am right
But
now.
you are, and
Yeah.
there's just so many possibilities. There's a new municipal center in Fridley. There's the mall. There's all the parks because the parks are here for all of us. And we use the space in this park so much for programming with young people and festivals. But that's still a possibility because parks still belong to all of
Yeah,
us.
well, and that's a big thing that I've been negotiating and working really hard with Jeff Perry about this, is making sure that we're moving forward on a positive note, and so that even if we move away, we can maybe come back here and still have art at Rice Creek. The last thing I wanted was people to be fighting us, fighting the county, and fighting this house. And so we're working really hard to make sure we're all moving forward together and not just creating a chaotic scene where we're all feeling petty and bitter and having to leave. Because it could have easily gone that way, it almost did. I'm very thankful that's not the way it's going right now.
I hope we can get a memory book for all of us people who have spent many years here and with pictures, because this building is so dear to us.
We're working on that, and we're actually, one of our first exhibitions in our new space will be a history of Banfill-Locke and the building and everything. We're already researching and working on that right now. It'll be a way to welcome us into our new space as we transition.
Thank you for looking forward, and I appreciate that. I wish that our county board looked forward a little more.
Well, and I guess when we heard from the county park director, Jeff Perry, and Commissioner Gamache, at our last meeting, they talked about it as an issue of parks shouldn't cover the arts. The county covers history, the county should cover arts, and it's just a matter of it shouldn't come out of our budget, it should come out of someone else's. Has that been pushed or explored a little bit more? Because I think, a lot of us that are here see value in art. Our libraries feature art, and our children learn art in the school, and we don't have a lot of art in our county. We have some statues, we have some simple things, but I don't know, did you have any conversation on that, or is that something perhaps League of Women Voters could be supportive on, is that whether you're here or not, the county could do some support for the work.
Yeah, I talked a bit with Jeff about that as well, and figuring out where it would come from if it were to happen. And a lot of it came down to timeline. We wouldn't be able to get anything in place for us to let them support us and us to move forward in that 6 months timeline that's been provided, which is now about 4 months for it. Some of it came down to space and the fact that we were a very unique contract with how the county did contract with other nonprofits. They give us space and money and stuff for other things that they don't always do for other people. And figuring out what's a fair way to kind of distribute that it would take a long time. And I would say that I don't think this is going to be the end of our relationship permanently with Anoka County. It'll be the end of this much of a relationship with them. Right now, they were giving us almost 50% of our income. They were giving us our full building. And quite frankly, I think that's made us kind of fall back and be a little bit lazy on that. It's a reason why we haven't expanded staff. It's a reason why we haven't changed programming. It's also a reason why we haven't reached out to people who are right next door who aren't in Anoka County, like Brooklyn Center or Mounds View or Shoreview. We focus kind of narrowly upwards instead of out. And so I think us separating is a really good way for us to justify reaching out that direction as well. And I don't think that our access to arts in Anoka County will change just because we aren't underneath their umbrella anymore. I think if anything, it gives us room to expand and move forward with that. And if they approach us in the future, or we approach them and something happened and we were able to get some more funding or some more space or anything from them, we'd be open to it. But right now we have to look forward to our timeline and make sure we're not disrupting programming in the interim while we're waiting for that unicorn moment to happen.
Yeah, I guess my final comment is I'm sad and sorry that this wasn't part of a plan, that it was like anticipating can we cut our budget this much for next year, and then there you go, instead of next year let's begin discussing how we can sever. I'm sorry that
Thanks.
it went that way.
That was my big frustration as well. Yeah.
How do other counties support the arts?
Well, I mean, around us, I know like Hennepin County is notoriously fantastic with supporting the arts, and there's a lot of it breaks down to city by city, as far as I know around here. And I will admit that my expertise is not quite in Minneapolis. I moved from from Georgia just 2 years ago, where arts funding is a wildly different scene as it is here. And I know that it's not unheard of for counties to have like art centers and build that into their things. I know it's from a arts administrative side, it can be kind of cornering because you're beholden to that what the government says, and kind of you're not quite as free in what kind of exhibitions and programmings and things you can have. If you happen to align very well with that area, it's a great way to go forward. For us, I'm not quite sure it's the most fantastic way for us to move forward. And again, we're just excited to be able to expand and not kind of be held back or beholden by that kind of group.
Did you say something about what area you're looking at, and I missed it?
Oh yeah, we're looking to stay within a 3 to 5 mile radius of right here. We want to for sure be serving southern Anoka County and everything east and west of us. We know there's a couple options once you get further more rural and once you get down into northeast. But so this is the big dead zone we're trying to kind of hit with where we move.
I was going to ask, well, as far as funding goes, and I'm sure it's a long process, but do you know if any of that, the amendment that was passed, the Arts and Wildlife Amendment that was passed, I don't know, 5 years ago, I remember than that, is that any funding mechanism that you can tap into, or is that kind of all accounted for years out?
Yeah, I mean, so through the grant process, we can definitely tap into a lot of that.
Okay.
And I will say that because we've gotten a large portion of our money through one entity before and through a government entity before, it makes it harder for us to apply for those overhead grants before, which will open us up to that now.
Okay.
And also because we didn't have the manpower or time or need, we never applied for them in the past.
Okay.
And so now that it's a thing we need to do, I think we will be. And in fact, we have a great history with grant writing. We just apply for it on program things, not overhead things, and we'll just be applying that to a greater scale.
Well, if that's it, thank you very much, Adam.
Yeah.